Right now, though, we have to quickly rush over to the conference center where the National Policy Dialogue is ongoing. Vice President Dr. Bawumia is the one speaking. You'd love to hear from him.
Activities, we all, government and citizens, the private sector and civil society groups can engage and explore how to work together to achieve the targeted goals. As you may well know, topmost of our priorities is to provide jobs and create wealth among citizens of this country. To achieve this, we have crafted a set of economic policies and programs as contained in the 2017 budget statement. The budget, which was read on March 2nd this year by the Finance Minister, outlined the major set of policies to grow the economy from a dwindling 3.6% to a target 6.5% this year. To achieve our objectives, we are very clear transformational, more importantly, in our implementation of the policies that we have thought through. And in that context, we know that there are certain critical elements that we have to have in place to make sure this transformation actually takes place. First of all, we have to maintain and sustain macroeconomic stability. Ghana has had a history of 2 steps forward and 4 steps backwards, or 1 step forward and 2 steps backwards. Whichever way you look at it, we've never really had a prolonged period of sustained macroeconomic stability. We want a period where you can see that the fiscal deficit is sustainably low. We want a period where inflation is sustainably low. And we want a period where the currency is sustainably stable and interest rates are also sustainably low. These are the elements of macroeconomic stability. But we cannot get there by wishing for them. We have to get there by working at them to achieve them. So this whole element of fiscal discipline is so key. If we don't take the issue of fiscal discipline seriously, the whole macroeconomic stability that we desire will not take place. And so we have to be looking at ways of continuously trying to entrench fiscal discipline to make sure that at least the politicians are kept in check. We, the politicians, are kept in check. Because for political exigencies, a lot of the time, as elections approach, fiscal discipline is lost. So we are hoping that we can break that particular cycle. In fact, we want to break that cycle, and I'm sure we are going to break that cycle by the grace of God. It is in this context that we have been talking amongst ourselves about creating irreversibilities so that we don't go forward and come back again. We want to keep going forward. And so in the context of fiscal discipline, even though we have passed the Public Financial Management Act, we are looking to reinforce it. We are saying that there are certain elements of the Public Financial Management Act that are not strong enough to maintain and entrench fiscal discipline. So we are looking to, when Parliament gets back, to bring forward some amendments to the Public Financial Management Act, essentially to create what will be in practice a Fiscal Responsibility Act that can hold the executive in check and also make sure there's a lot more transparency and accountability in the attainment of fiscal discipline. So we want to amongst other things, set up a fiscal council, as we said in our manifesto. Just as you have a monetary policy committee, you also want a fiscal council that will open up the fiscal for public scrutiny and bring out a lot of transparency. So the fiscal council will take a lot of analytical work into what the Minister of Finance and the budget announces, and we will see that it is quite independent and provides very good guidance for everybody as far as looking at Ghana's fiscal policy is concerned. In conjunction, we also want to create a council, a financial stability council, to make sure that the financial sector, that quite frankly, the financial sector has been weakened by the years of macroeconomic instability. If you look at the books of a lot of financial institutions, we have weaknesses. So we need an institution to also evaluate the strengths and weaknesses of the financial sector as we are going to supplement the work that the Bank of Ghana is doing. Furthermore, we have already said it, that everything in terms of growth in this economy has to be underpinned by the private sector. That if we are to grow sustainably, it is the private sector that is going to create those jobs and not government. And so we've got to create a very business-friendly environment. We've said to our colleagues on the African continent that Ghana is going to be the most business-friendly country in Africa. And that is the goal that we are aiming at. And so I've told our colleagues in Uganda and in Rwanda to watch out for us. We are coming after their current position. And we are not just coming with words, we are coming with actions. And you saw the budget that was read by Ken Ofori-Atta, an excellent, budget that was read. The Asempa budget had about 15 taxes that were taken down. So he gained the name the Abolisher-in-Chief. He abolished quite a few of these taxes. But we believe that these are important incentives for the private sector which will bear fruit down the road. And we are willing to take that bold action, even though in the short term we could see some revenue loss in some of the lines, but we expect productivity growth down the road to actually make up for those revenue losses. We are also very cognizant of the fact that our ports, the port, is very, very bureaucratic and quite frankly inefficient. You would see that a lot of the cost of doing business as far as the private sector is concerned is at the level of the ports. And you bring in goods to clear them. It's sort of a tedious process. And we've been looking at what to do to deal with this. How can Ghana become, our ports become first world or first class in terms of clearance? And so this, on Wednesday, we are calling a conference, the Port Efficiency Conference, and we are bringing in experts from within Africa and outside Africa. We have invited Dubai ports, we've invited Singapore, Antwerp, and we want to see what some of the best in the world are doing that we are not doing. How can we get a lot more automation and less human intervention as far as the port system in Ghana is concerned? And so we are going to see on Wednesday some major, I think, eye-openers as to what is happening elsewhere vis-a-vis what is happening in Ghana. And hopefully we will then be able to take some very, very radical decisions to change our system in Ghana to make it a bit more efficient. At the end of the day, ladies and gentlemen, we are also moving on very quickly, I may add, on the whole issue of formalization of this economy. We came into office making the point that the Ghanaian economy, for it to grow sustainably, has to be less chaotic, has to be a little more formal. Today, we are highly informal. And when you are highly informal, even getting a loan from the bank is a problem. You know, someone finding where you live is a problem. Someone actually knowing who you are is a problem. In many other advanced and modern economies, there are key elements that make those economies work. Unfortunately, nobody is going to come and force you as a country to put those elements in place. I call them the unwritten rules of the game. If you are playing that game, nobody will come and tell you to make sure you are well prepared for the game. It's like playing a football match and you have no goalkeeper. Your opponents will not come and tell you, hey, go and put the goalkeeper in the post. They'll keep scoring the goals if you don't have the goalkeeper. And so this is why we are moving very quickly to make sure that we formalize this economy. And the formalization of this economy is really going to be transformational. There are three elements of formalization that we are putting in place. First is the issue of the national ID system. That is such a critical element because everybody must uniquely be identified. And that unique identity will follow you all the way till you are no more in this world. And it is very, very important. Every developed economy, whether in the US it's your social security number, in the UK it's your national insurance number, every developed economy you have a unique ID for everybody. And this is what we need to do. And that allows us to manage the economy properly and also bring a lot of social discipline. And so it is really something that we've set about working on. And by the grace of God, we hope that August, September this year, we will start the issue of the national ID cards and break that and bring that whole situation to resolution. 60 years, we've not been able to do it as a country. We are hoping by the grace of God this year we will bring it to fruition and get it out of the way. Now, in addition to that, we've already said that we are going to implement a national digital address system. Now, that is also a very key element of a modernized economy and a formal economy, so that you can find every address in Ghana, every square meter of land in Ghana should have a unique address. Every square meter, even part of our land which is in the sea, so to speak, wherever you are in the sea, which is part of Ghanaian territory, you should know that address. That is the system that we are going to move forward. The technology, with satellite technology, Google, and everything available to us today, basically allows us to leapfrog into a digital address mapping system rather than just on the street names and so on. The digital address mapping system will make sure that every place that we have in Ghana has a unique GPS code. We'll also have a postcode, and we can identify uniquely where every place is and deliver goods or services to those addresses. So you will no longer have to say, if you pass the cocoa seller on the right, turn left, and then the blue kiosk, you do right, and when the cocoa seller doesn't appear, you get lost. So we want a unique digital addressing system for the country. And again, we've started work on it. This is not just an idea that was put in, or a policy that was put in a manifesto. We've started work on it, and our target is that by July, we want to do it, by July this year, we should outdoor the National Digital Addressing System. It is for good reason that we want to do the digital address outdoor it before the national ID comes out, so that when you go to register for your national ID, you also have your address, so that we are able to capture the two in the database. So those are two elements of the formalization process that we hope to attain this year. The third element is in the financial sector, the payment system. And we want to make sure that there is financial inclusion in this country. But a key to that particular area, that particular pillar, is to make sure that there is interoperability amongst the systems, whether you are dealing with MTN or Vodafone or whatever mobile network you're dealing with, whether you are dealing with a bank, whether you are dealing with eSwitch, all of those systems you should have interoperability amongst those systems. And that alone will give us a payment system that can be extremely, extremely inclusive for everybody. And that is what we are aiming at, these three pillars. And again, I challenged with the authority of the president. The president asked me to challenge the industry to make sure that this year interoperability is achieved. And we've challenged them, and they've responded very well. And the last meeting we had with them, they showed us a roadmap, and by the grace of God, by November this year, we will achieve interoperability of the financial sector in this country. So these three elements of formalization of the economy, the national ID, the address system, and the interoperable mobile payment system and the banking system, we hope to get done this year. And we believe, quite frankly, that when that is done, it will represent really a major transformation of the economy. These are the soft pieces of infrastructure. As I said, the unwritten rules of the game. It just changes the economy so dramatically that you can find every address, you can find uniquely everybody, and you can make payments to anywhere across any network. That allows the economy and the private sector to really deliver services in a wonderful way across the country. We also said in our manifesto that Ghana has so many assets, including assets which are uncompleted projects. But we always talk in terms of our liabilities. We owe so much. But we don't talk in terms of our assets. We have so much in terms of assets, but we are really getting very little out of those assets. Those assets are essentially dead capital. There's very little out of them that we get. Many other countries, those assets are grouped as part of a portfolio and leveraged to actually raise a lot of capital. But we have billions of dollars in terms of assets, buildings and factories and all sorts of assets that we have as a country. And this is why we have said that we are going to form the Ghana Asset Management Corporation that will put together all of the assets of the country. And you can just imagine, and make sure that you bring life to this dead capital. We have a lot of assets, but we are not leveraging those assets to be able to finance. It's like building a house that you don't have the documents for. After you've built the house, that asset is dead capital. You can't use it to raise any money. You can't use it to raise any money. But if you are able to put it together and have the title and all of that, you can mortgage it, raise money, and finance other types of industries. So we are moving to implement also the Ghana Asset Management Corporation, where we will bring all our assets together and manage them properly. And it will be the responsibility of this corporation to ensure the maintenance as well as the management of these assets. We don't maintain our assets, but we need a body, and this happens in many other countries, which will be responsible for the maintenance of these assets and the management of these assets and the leveraging of these assets. It's going to be new. It's never been done before in Ghana. We are doing it for the first time, and by the grace of God, it is going to be transformational. This is huge. This is huge. We are doing, as I said, you would have heard about the policy in terms of agriculture. Agriculture is a major focus of this government, major focus, and we think that fundamentally, we think that we should be putting a lot more resources in agriculture, making sure that the infrastructure is right, the irrigation infrastructure, and fundamentally, we need a Marshall Plan in agriculture for Ghana. We may not get the Marshall Plan from Europe or wherever, but we have to do it ourselves. And that is what we have to understand, that agriculture is the most important sector as far as the job creation process is concerned and food security is concerned and our comparative advantage is concerned. So we are going to have to understand that and make sure that the next few years we really implement what essentially will amount to a Marshall Plan in agriculture. Of course, with the one district, one factory and other policies in the industrial sector, the other side of it will be if you are able to grow agriculture, you'll create the surplus for industrialization. And so the two will go side by side. We have also said that in this process, however, we need to empower local industries. As we grow the private sector, the president is very, very clear, and this is why we have said in our manifesto, and we are going to implement, that for government of Ghana, taxpayer-funded contracts in Ghana, all taxpayer-funded contracts in Ghana, we are committed that at least 70% of those contracts have to go to local companies. That has got to be the case. We need partners, we need domestic partners, we need international partners. And it is very, very important for us to understand this. We are trying so hard to build an economy that is beyond aid. We want to move beyond aid and rely on trade and investment rather than aid. And this is really Nana Akufo-Addo's vision. So we are doing that. We want partners, and we have to understand that Ghana will work with other countries to achieve our goals. And those countries, whether it be the United States or the United Kingdom or China, these are all partners of Ghana. And so we should treat all our partners with a lot of mutual respect, and we should encourage more investment from our partners, more trade with our partners, both within the sub-region and outside the sub-region. I really am very optimistic, as Nana Dankwa Akufo-Addo is, for this country. There are great things about to happen. There are people who are worried. Is this for real? Will we step back again? I want to tell you that this is for real. We are moving forward, and come and join us to reach the promised land. Thank you very much. God bless you, and God bless our homeland, Ghana.
Vice President Dr. Bawumia at the National Policy Forum there, reiterating basically government intention and the policies, etc., and the things that they believe will make the lives of Ghanaians better.